Hello, it's Aaron Malik from realestatemarketing.net.au here, and I wanted to talk to you about the subject of how to speed up the lead nurturing process, or also known as getting to the sale faster. So, two common questions I almost always get asked by potential clients is A, how can I generate quality leads? And B, how do I get those leads to buy or sell faster? Now, this video is primarily focused on the second question, how to get those leads to a sale faster. But we'll spend a few minutes touching on question A, how can I generate quality leads? So the short answer to question A is, ta-da, advertising online and offline, but that's not really my primary area of expertise, so we'll focus on the online space. So you can run ads on Google, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and a whole pile of other sites and services to attract people that have got some level of interest in what you're selling. Now, whether you're a standard listing and selling real estate agent looking for seller leads, or you're a property management firm looking for investors who want someone to manage their rental properties, or even if you're a firm that sells investment properties as well as offering the property management service, it's pretty easy to get ads up and running to find potential clients. However, let's be clear here, I'm not saying that it's a walk in the park to set up your ads and to generate a heap of high quality leads for a small amount of money in a short time frame. All I'm saying is that one or more of these ad platforms could easily serve your needs in terms of finding potential customers. Now, truth be told, finding enough of them at a reasonable price is a lot more difficult than you can imagine, especially if you don't have much experience at digital marketing, web design, copywriting, analytics, and a range of other marketing areas. However, we're not here to discuss how easy or hard that is to do. That's a story for another day. So instead, I want you to assume that somehow we or you have managed to actually generate these leads, and now you want to know how you can get them from a semi-cold, maybe, possibly, I might be interested in what you're offering in 6 months, a year, maybe even 5 to 10 years, all the way through to a where do I sign? So this process of taking a cold suspect, somebody that doesn't know you, your company, and may not even be in the market for what you're selling, all the way through to a prospect, then a lead, and then finally a customer is termed in the marketing world lead nurturing. And lead nurturing is the fine art and science of getting to the sale faster and also bringing more of your suspects and prospects with you. Now, let's be clear at the beginning that this is a journey and it's often a complex road. It's pretty rare that you meet someone in a cafe or when you make a cold call or even get a referral to a prospective client and they sign up with you on the spot. In fact, most products and services sold in real estate have got longer sales cycles that might take days, weeks, months, or even years. And during that time, things can often go on in unexpected directions and get complicated, annoying, frustrating, and even depressing. But of course, the end result is what we all want, which is to get the sale and to earn that commission, etc. So let's get into it. So quickly, I want to introduce you to a diagram that I first encountered back in 2009 when I first bought and read this book. Now, this book titled The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, who sadly is no longer with us, having passed away in 2012. Now, in the book, chapter 4 to be precise, Chet talks about the stadium pitch. And he asks you to imagine that you've been put on stage in a giant stadium where the entire audience is composed of your most perfect prospects, and you've been given the opportunity to present your offer to them all at one go. Now, on page 64 is this diagram, which demonstrates how that pitch would go, assuming you were even ready with a perfect pitch. As Chet says, there's always a very small percentage of people who are buying now. In fact, about 3% is fairly typical. Down the bottom, you can see that little 3% there. And that 3% is what actually drives all commerce. Next is about 6 to 7% here. And they're 6 to 7% of the audience, they're open to the idea of buying. Maybe not this instant, but for whatever reason, they're open to the idea. Then we're left with 30% who are definitely, absolutely not interested. These guys and girls at the top, and we all know plenty of those. They just aren't thinking about it. You can ignore them pretty well. So from there, we're left with 30% that are not thinking about it. They're not for it, they're not against it, they're just not thinking about it right now. And then the remaining 30% that don't think they're interested. However, here's the crucial point to this entire diagram. That big 60% chunk in the middle aren't a definite no, not now, not ever. Rather, they're a maybe. Just not sure when or why. So you've just got to get them to the future when it's right for them. And that's what this video is all about. Not how to find them, but rather how to take them on the journey with you until they're ready to buy from you, preferably sooner rather than later. Now, obviously, when I say buy, in real estate terms, that could mean listing with you to sell their property, signing with you to manage their investment property or properties, buying a home from you, or even purchasing an investment property from you. So this is where the lead nurturing comes into the picture, because it's the strategy we use to take suspects, prospects, and leads on the journey with you until they're ready to sign on the dotted line, preferably with you rather than your competition. So at this point, you're probably asking yourself, okay, wise guy, that all makes perfect sense, but how the heck do we do this? And to answer that question, I briefly need to introduce you to another sadly deceased business guru, and this is Mr. Eugene M Schwartz, who was actually one of the highest paid copywriters of the 1950s and the 1960s. Now, Schwartz made millions of dollars for his clients, back in the days when $1 million was really a lot of money. Clients like Rodale Press, who once paid him $54,000 for just 4 hours of work. Now, good old Eugene wrote 10 books, of which this one is probably the most famous. Breakthrough Advertising, which was released in 1952. It's almost impossible to buy now. And as you can see, if you can even find a copy on Amazon.com, it sells for hundreds of dollars. And in fact, I've seen some of them in excess of $1,000 for a used copy. So for anyone in the copywriting industry, this is like one of the best books you can get your hands on. Now, in this book, Eugene talks about the 5 levels of awareness that prospective customers have when it comes to your offer. And these 5 levels are key to understanding how to nurture your leads from cold to warm to hot to sold. You see, probably the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to marketing is trying to use one message for all of their market, when in fact all markets are different. Markets have segments within segments, even though the end result might end up with you listing and selling their home. So let's have a look at Eugene's 5 levels of awareness, and then I've got some examples for you to consider in the typical real estate related market. So level 1 is what's termed unaware, and this is basically someone who has no knowledge of anything except perhaps their own identity or opinion. You're probably not going to run across this too often. It's not like nobody's aware of real estate, but it's more about the fact they might be not thinking about it. Then we go to level 2. This is problem aware. So your prospect now senses that they've got a problem, but they don't know that there's a solution. We'll talk about this all in a real example in a minute. Level 3 is solution aware. Your prospect knows the results they want, but not that your product provides it. Level 4 is product aware. Your prospect knows what you sell, but isn't sure if it's right for them. And then good old level 5 is the most aware. Your prospect knows your product and only needs to know the quote-unquote deal from you, i.e. have you got the best deal for them. So let's look at some examples for 3 different real estate market segments. Now I've got here the 5 levels across the top, and then this down the side I've broken them down into 3 different types of business. So the top one is your typical listing and selling agent. The next one down is a property management firm or a property manager. And then the third one down is a company or an organization that sells investment properties. So on row 1, these examples, as I said, are for listing and selling agents. Now, if you're not one of these segments, I'm sure you can still figure out how to break your own market down into Eugene's 5 levels of awareness. So as you look at each of these, think about how the message you might be leading with in your advertising should speak to where your prospect is actually or currently at. In fact, in most cases, it needs to be different at each level. So as a listing and selling agent, if your sole marketing message is get a free market appraisal or something similar, then you're going to either be alienated by everyone who's not at the product aware stage. As you can see up here, we've got the how much is my home worth, and they're not actually ready for this yet, or they're just going to ignore your ads because they're in an earlier stage of awareness, or for that matter in the last stage, maybe they've gone past that. So let's just quickly walk through how it might work. So if we look at the listing and selling agent, at the unaware stage, they might be worried about, well, they're not thinking necessarily about selling the home, but they just might have come across something that says real estate prices are going up or down. Sometimes that triggers an impetus to sell. Maybe home loan rates going up or down. Maybe they read an article about the best suburbs to live in for whatever reason. They might be thinking of having a sea change. So where's the best seaside town to live in or something like that. Maybe they're reading an article about beautiful kitchens and or bathrooms, or perhaps they're just sick of their current location or their current situation. They don't like the location or the lifestyle or whatever. So at this stage, the content you're creating and the ads you're promoting are really just talking about those very high level introductory subjects. And the idea is to get someone to engage with one of your ads, read one of these pieces of content or watch a video or whatever it is. It's not a sales pitch, it's an educational thing, and enough to actually have them view it and interact with it. Then you can actually move them potentially to the next level where they become problem aware. So at that stage, people start to think about, you know what, we're pregnant, we've got a growing family, or our kids are sharing rooms and they're growing up and they need another room each, or we need a pool for the kids, or we want to be close to good schools or public transport or work, or we want to look at a great area to live in, whether it's the cafe lifestyle or the beaches or something. Maybe they want to keep up with the Joneses. Some people still buy and sell real estate for that reason. Or perhaps they're downsizing for retirement. But these don't all imply they are absolutely, positively, definitely going to sell. Okay, so you could show a second series of ads that talks about this topic. And then if someone engages with that, you could then move them to the third level, which is solution aware. And that at that stage, they're starting to think, you know what, if I've got a growing family, I need to sell my house and buy a bigger house. So I might have a small one-bedroom apartment for a couple, and they've suddenly got pregnant, they need another room. So, what's the option? Well, one option is probably going to be to sell their home and buy a bigger house. Okay, so that's kind of where you're leading them there. Then, once people start to decide, okay, you know what, I think the solution to my situation is to sell my home, then they start doing further research to take them to better help them make that decision. And they'll go to Google, for example, and start typing questions in like, how much is my home worth? How do I sell my home for more? What does it cost me to buy a new home? Should I sell as for sale by owner? How long does it take to sell? When's the best time to sell? Which agent or agency? What the market conditions are like? And there's a ton of opportunity there for creating ads to hit people that are doing those kind of searches. This is the point where you'll get a free market appraisal comes in, which is right here, not over here, where most people try and hammer them with it. And then if you do that all right and drive them to the final stage, they're now at the point of saying, okay, I know what's involved in selling my house. I know how much my house is worth. I know, can I afford to buy the next house that I'm moving to, for example. I know all of those things. Now it's down to the nitty gritty. Which agent's going to give me the best deal, whether it's the lowest commission rate or the highest sales price, or do they offer the lowest risk with some sort of guarantee, for example. Can I find an agent to work with that's trusted and has got proven results? So throughout this whole sequence of these 5 levels of awareness, you're continuing to create advertising, driving people to content and or information that they can read or download that moves them to the next level. And then look, at those of you in the property management and the investment property space, you can sort of do the same, understand the same process. I probably have missed a few extra items. I'm sure you could help me fill in some gaps. So, work your way through there and have a look at them. Think about it from yourself. Are you pitching one offer for someone that may be in the product aware or the most aware stage and completely alienating or missing everyone else in these other stages here? So that's the key message I want to get across. So let's be clear that one message for all is not going to speed up the lead nurturing process because everybody's at a different stage in their journey. So to summarize, lead nurturing done right using digital marketing techniques relies on several key factors. Number one, getting a message in front of the people that best speaks to where they're at right now. And number two, once you've quote unquote made contact with someone via your ads, then you need to be able to serve them additional ads that help them move further down the journey path until they get to the point of buying or selling or whatever the appropriate case might be. So let's look at a simple example of a listing and selling agent wanting to find more potential sellers or vendors. So one ad they could run back at the unaware stages is to promote an article about the 10 best kitchens or bathrooms in $600,000 homes in Perth, just as an example. And that might get in front of someone who's potentially dissatisfied with their current kitchen or bathroom. So once they've seen your ad, they've clicked on the ad, they've landed on the site, whether it's a blog post or whatever, they've read the article or maybe they've watched an informational video. Once they've seen that, you could show them another ad leading to an article or a video about the costs and hassles involved in renovating their existing bathroom or kitchen, because that's going to be one option that they'll think about. And you can just slip in the idea that maybe the cheapest or easiest way to get a better kitchen or bathroom would be just to buy a house with the kitchen or bathroom that the reader loves. So that second ad hits the problem aware crowd, these guys and girls here. It's taking them to the next stage of awareness. So now that you've introduced the idea that buying a new home is an easier or a better way to upgrade their kitchen or bathroom, you can lead them into solution aware and talk about selling homes in today's market via another ad. Now, whether that's discussing the demand for more home stock to buy or the fact that it's a seller's market and a good time to sell, it can all be made to work. You have to prepare it and pitch it around your circumstances. Now, once they're well and truly past the, hey, I'm going to sell my home stage, then people often start doing research on Google for what their options are. So what's their home worth? How can they sell it for more? All that stuff we've already talked about. So it's at this stage that your advertising can really kick into gear and start answering all these questions. And Google's a great place to run ads like this because you can actually actively target people when they start typing in searches like this. Now, you can do this on Facebook as well, but the beauty of doing it on Google is that it can be very targeted because someone's actively looking for it. And this is also, this product aware stage, this is where typically the stage where people will start actually responding to an ad offering them a free market appraisal or a CMA, not back in the first three stages. And then finally, once they've been through all the stages of your ad nurturing and they've reached the most aware stage, this is where they're looking for the deal. They want to know what your commission rate is, what your sales track record is like, or whether you're a proven and trusted agent. So you can then use your advertising to actually start talking about those sort of things, or booking a phone call or a listing presentation with them, or whatever the case may be. So as you can see, it's simply a case of having ads out there that talk to people at all 5 stages of awareness. Now, what's really interesting and exciting about this is that you'll capture the attention and the interest of a lot more people here that you can bring into your sphere of influence, usually at a lower price, rather than just trying to find that small 3% of the market that's ready to list and sell now. And that's why lead nurturing is so important. In fact, if we go back to Chet's diagram again, you can see that the nurturing sequence of ads draws people all the way from near the top, i.e. we forget about the top 30%, all the way from here down to the final 3%. So you've got this whole 70% chunk of the market that's actually your real prospective market, not just the 3% that everyone's fighting over for the scraps. So sure, not everyone's going to do business with you here and now, but once they know you from seeing your ads and the content that answers their questions, they'll go down the know, like, and trust scale towards the I'm buying now here with you today point, which is what we all want. Now, at this stage, you're probably thinking, well, this all sounds grand, but how the heck do I do this? It all sounds extremely complicated and time-consuming. I don't know how to do this stuff, and goodness knows whether it's going to actually work or not. Now, it's true you may not have the expertise and time to do all this, which is where I come into the picture if you want someone to do it for you. Heck, you might not even have the budget to do this. We're certainly not talking about a $100 a month solution here. In fact, to fully implement something like this across the 5 stages of awareness, including having ads and content to meet the most common client types you work with, is likely to be in the thousands of dollars per month for an agent or an agency targeting a small market. And if you're a big agency or you have multiple offices spread across a major city like Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, or so forth, then it could potentially run into excess of $10K a month in ad spend and the time and expertise of an expert to set it up and manage it and run it ongoingly. Obviously, the budget is an issue that everyone watching this has to get more clear on. Keeping in mind, of course, that if it's done properly, it'll usually bring in a lot more money in the form of new sales you didn't have before. However, let's leave the money aside and talk instead about how this is done. Now, I'm running out of time, so this will be probably the quick, short end of this. So I just want to give you an introduction to the subject, and if you've got more questions, you're welcome to reach out to me to ask them. So the key to making this all work is a digital marketing technology called remarketing or retargeting. Now, you might not have heard the term before, but I guarantee you've seen it in action. So have you ever noticed that sometimes when you visit a website and then leave it, you see ads from that site start to follow you around, whether it's from eBay, a travel or hotel booking site, or even a fashion brand site? So that's retargeting or remarketing. It's essentially the ability to show follow-up ads to people who've engaged with your content on Facebook or who've visited your website, etc. And that's how you set up a full lead nurturing sequence or funnel. By using retargeting technology, you can preset a sequence of ads to take people from one stage of awareness to the next on autopilot. All you have to do is set up the ads initially and define when they show to people and in what order, and then you're off and running. Now, of course, I've just taken a very complex process and made it simple, and the implementation is by no means simple, but the concept is simple to grasp once you understand Eugene's 5 levels of awareness, and that's what's important here. Okay, so that's it from me. If you'd like help with implementing this in your business, you can connect with me via my website, realestatemarketing.net.au/contact. Just drop me a line and I'll get back to you to schedule a time to talk about what you want. Other than that, I hope the information in this video was helpful. Have a great day, and I hope to speak to you at some stage in the future.